Okay, thank you. So I think I'll start where Arvind and Professor Jain left. So one of the key messages I want to give is great businesses are built on deep customer insights. So I was a student at IMA, PGP2, and I had come here with 3 years of work experience. In those days, most students did not come with work experience. And companies would come here in those days seeking only to hire people as management trainees. So if you had work experience, you'd probably write it off and start again from scratch. I had worked in advertising, I wanted a job in marketing, so I felt my work was relevant. And so I went outside placement to a company that wasn't coming to campus. And I got a job before placement season. And I came back, I told Professor Srinivas Rao, it was a legendary project. And I said, I've got a job, and I'm opting out of placement. So he said, oh, which job? I explained. You haven't broken any rules. I said, no. So he said, okay, you're helping me with the placement process. So there were 3 or 4 people who were made to volunteer. I think 2, 3 had dropped out because of writing the civil services, and I because I had already got a job. So my job was that of a concierge. The recruiters would come, I'd receive them at the gate, walk them to dorm 2 basement, where the interview is being held, make sure tea, coffee, biscuits are served, the students are coming on time for the interviews as per schedule, take them for lunch to the old MDC, and that was a high point, because we were, that lunch was really good, yeah? And come back, afternoon, same schedule, and then see them off in the evening. So there were 4 companies on day 1. In those days, day 1 was day 1. Yeah? There was no day 0, day -1, nothing. There were no pre-placement offers. Day 1 was day 1. There were 4 companies, Hindustan Lever, Procter & Gamble, Citibank, and Bank of America. Okay? 1989, pre-liberalization, no consulting companies, no hedge funds, no mutual fund, no, nothing. None of the kind of job that you want today. These were the 4 most popular companies. Now, typically, companies would send alumni for interviews. Okay? So Hindustan Lever had come with 4 interviewers, and Citibank had come with 8. So Citibank was running 4 panels, and Lever was running only 2 panels. So the Lever head of HR, who was also an alum, who was there, he got really worried that Citibank will interview people faster, make them offers, they'll accept and drop out of placement, and we won't even meet them. So he began to take out, if he liked a guy across the table, he would take out a pro forma offer letter, write the candidate's name, sign the offer letter, and say sign accepted, and walk with me to the placement office and drop out of placement, or else I'm withdrawing the offer and tearing up the letter. Right? Completely against placement rules. I don't know the rules are now, but in those days, you were allowed to keep an offer for 48 hours before saying yes or no. You were allowed to get up to 2 offers. After 2 offers, you're out of placement. So this threw the placement system completely out of gear. Some guys signed, they were happy to sign, Lever was their first choice anyway. Some guys signed under duress and were really hassled afterwards. One guy said, sir, I have to go to the loo, and he ran away. One guy actually has guts to say, withdraw it. I'd like to see you withdraw it, and he didn't withdraw it. Okay? Rahul Bhasin. Yeah? And the Citibank guys found out they were really hassled. They were screaming and shouting. People almost came to blows. That evening, there was a GBM. Many profs came. Our entire batch came. And so the batch was divided. So the guys who had got a job at Lever and wanted it were now company loyalists, and they were defending Lever. The guys who had signed under duress were really hassled. who hadn't got jobs said these guys should be out of placement, because they got a job, never mind duress, no duress. So, everyone was thinking of himself. So finally what happened was that placement rules were changed. If you had an offer on day one, it was counted as a non-offer, and you could now start again on day two. Of course, most people who had offers on day one did not do that because they wanted those jobs. But this, now I had a ringside seat of this because I was there, not as a candidate, but as somebody who's trying to help. Yeah? This gave me my first product idea. And I said to myself that if companies can come almost to blows to recruit the right talent, right? Then if somebody were to do a salary survey of what companies are offering fresh MBAs at the IIM campuses, this report would sell. And a year later when I quit my job, this is the first product I did with a friend. Two of us, we were partners, 50-50. And this report, we had no money, right? We had 2,000 rupees. So we got letterheads printed on credit. We went to the JNU library and noted down the addresses of HR managers from the appointment ads. We built a database of 600, right? To write the report, now in those days computers were expensive, 1.5 lakhs for a PC XT, mono monitor, 640 KB RAM, 20 MB hard disk, 5.25 floppy drive. The average salary in the class was about 3,800 rupees a month. So it was 4 years salary for an IMA graduate, the average IMA graduate to buy one computer. So obviously you couldn't afford it. Right? So in those days, offices would have one computer and 8 guys would share it, right? In a separate air-conditioned room and with a dust jacket, and you're supposed to take off shoes when you went to that room. Yeah. So a friend of mine had a computer in his office, and I said, I need access to your computer because I have to write a report. So he said, he got me duplicate keys. He said, come in after 10 p.m. and leave before 5 a.m. So we used to sneak into his office at 10 p.m. and I created a hidden directory, and we hammered out the report. And in about a week's time we had done it. We mail merged to send to and the only money we really spent was on postage because there you can get credit. Right? So we put my partner's residence address. He lived in Vasant Vihar in South Delhi. I lived in East Delhi. This is a better address. Yeah, we wanted to look like a posh company. And we said this report is available, and these 135 companies are covered, and it costs 3,500 rupees. But you've got to send the money 100% advance. And within 3 weeks of the letter, we got 23 orders, 23 drafts and checks in the mail. Okay. That was 80,500 rupees. Seems like peanuts now, but then it was a king's ransom. And this was a 98% margin product, maybe 95% margin product. Just had to photocopy the report and ship it. So cost of courier, cost of photocopy, laminated cover and binding. The whole thing was less than 300 bucks, maybe 200 bucks. So point I'm making is that if I had not seen what I saw in placement time, I would not have got that customer insight, and I would not have thought of this product. So if you base your business idea on a deep customer insight, the likelihood of your success multiplies manifold. Because if you are solving an unsolved problem, so a deep customer insight about an unsolved problem, right? So if you're solving an unsolved problem, chances are you will hit a hot button. And if you hit a hot button, people will want to buy. You won't have to sell. Now, if people want to buy, it's a great position to be in, which means you can get your terms of trade. We have always got money 100% advance. Even Naukri today, same principle, 100% advance, no credit. So right now we are sitting on, I think, 220 crores of client advances in Naukri. So annual subscription, it will be recognized as revenue as the year progresses, but more advances are coming in every month. How are we able to do this? Because we have produced a product that has hit a hot button. Another business we launched early on was a trademark search service. So you know what a trademark is, right? A trademark is a brand name, logo, device, something that distinguishes your product from that of your competitor. So there's a Trademarks Act, and it makes sense for companies to register their trademark under the Trademarks Act with the Trademark Registry, which is under the Ministry of Industry, Government of India, so that they get exclusive right to use that trademark for that product category in which it's been registered. Now, the problem was that the government, the registry would take 5 years to register a trademark. It still does take 5 years. Right? At the end of 5 years, if they reject your application, meanwhile you launched your product, you've got to change your brand name, you lose crores of rupees. In today's world, maybe tens of crores. So companies would try and get an early warning. So the principal reason for rejection of a trademark application was that you are trying to register a trademark which is deceptively similar or identical to a prior registered trademark or an earlier application. They can't have two people owning the same trademark, right? So companies would send lawyers to the trademark registry library, which had a record open for public inspection of all registered trademark and pending applications. Now, my former partner, or my then partner, his uncle was a well-known trademark attorney in Delhi. So he'd done a summer internship with him while in college. And his uncle had said, son, go to Bombay to the Trademark Registry Library and go and do a trademark search for these trademarks. So he came back from there and he said, this is a huge problem. He said there are 6 lakh registered and pending trademarks there were then. They were not maintained on computer. The record was manual. They were not maintained in register in alphabetical order. They were maintained in files with 2 pages to 1 trademark application in reverse chronological order of date of application. But each category had a separate set of files. So out of 6 lakhs, 80,000 were in pharmaceuticals, single largest category, class 5. So to do a trademark search in pharmaceuticals, you had to do this 1,60,000 times. For this, the lawyer who was doing it on the front line, was getting paid 150 rupees. There was no way it was going to be reliable. So what we did was, we took 20 students from, we took maybe not 20, maybe 10 students from Elphinstone College, made them cut classes, made them sit in the library, paid the library fees, and have them transcribe the entire pharmaceutical record in registers. Right? Which is, we want these 6 columns: application number, trademark, applicant name, date of application, status, a few more, right? And within 3 weeks, we had done it. 10 kids working, 3 weeks, done. So my partner came back to Delhi with 2 suitcases of registers. We gave it to a data entry company. They entered it, and we had these floppies full of data, which we, by then we'd bought a computer because we had sold the salary survey, bought our own computer, second hand, all that, done all that. And so, I'm not a techie. And Kapil, my then partner, was not a techie either. And the first time I ran a computer course was at IMA. right? And so I studied eco in college. So you know how it is in study groups, right? The CA does the finance work, the engineer does the programming, and I was the advertising guy, so I did all the marketing projects, right? And that's how it worked. So I had not actually studied computers, although I had got grades, right? So anyway, but I had all the books, right? So in those days, the database we used to use was FoxPro and DBase 4 and DBase 3 and XBase basically. But I knew I had all the books, and my books were like brand new and untouched. Huh? I had not opened them. So anyway, so I looked at the solved examples, and I put one overnighter, and I hammered out some very rudimentary code where you could input a string, it'll query the database. So if you have 80,000 records there, it'll shortlist about maybe a couple of hundred. Say these could be identical or similar, right? And it'll throw it in an output file. You would then export it into a word processor, and then you would edit manually to knock out the irrelevant ones and just keep the relevant, and you had a report of sorts. So we sent, again, we were selling with direct mail, we sent letters and brochures to 5,000 pharma companies, and sales began to happen. Right? Once again, we hit a hot button because we were solving an unsolved problem. Right? And for the life of me, I would never have thought of this idea. It's just that Kapil went to the trademark registry and he saw it and he got the insight and said, this is a problem, because there is no way this process is reliable. So apart from reliability, we had this advantage of speed. We could do it in 3 days. Manual search took 6 weeks because to get paid $150 for this was not worth it. So we'd wait for 10, 15 trademarks to accumulate, and then it'd go into the search. So it took 6 weeks. There was usually a food chain of lawyers. The guy at the bottom was being paid $150. He was being hired by somebody else who was being paid $500, who was being hired by somebody else who was charging $1,500. So it was also expensive. Right? So we had many advantages, and this service also succeeded. Once again, 100% advance, 98% margin. Right? And we had two businesses that were not, look, in those days, even if you did 3, 4, 5 lakhs a year turnover and you made a lakh profit, it was considered decent money. Okay? I'm talking about a lakh profit a year. Yeah? Okay. And from there the company began. Right? Naukri idea is similar. I used to watch in my last job, everybody would read the office copy of Business India from the back because appointment ads were at the back. Right? And they would discuss the jobs. And I came to the conclusion that jobs are a high interest category of information because all my colleagues are reading the magazine from the back. They were not reading the articles, just looking at the jobs. So that's where so 7 years later, when I saw the internet for the first time, I joined the dots and we launched Naukri. All these three businesses, two small, one has become a reasonable size. Essentially, we had next to no marketing expenditure, simply because we were hitting a hot button. We didn't have to sell. Customers would buy and pay us 100% advance. All these three businesses. So, if you are looking to be an entrepreneur and are figuring out what to do, I think you should start by trying to get some customer insights about some unsolved problem, and then see if you can address it. So I think the mistakes people commonly make, so I believe that identifying the right opportunity is maybe 60% of the reason for a business's success. After that, you got to do 100 other things. But if you identify the wrong opportunity, it's like pushing water uphill. It won't happen. Yeah. So I think I met some of us here in this room I met earlier this afternoon. and Kitty and I basically commented on each of the ideas. That are you solving an unsolved problem? Are you sure the customer needs this? Because if the customer doesn't need it, it's going to be a difficult sale. Yeah. And difficult sales, you typically don't end up making money or being viable and sustainable. Right? So the first thing, look for an unsolved problem and identify that by knowing the customer, by observing the customer, by talking to the customer, perhaps you've been a customer yourself and felt the pain yourself. Yeah. So I quit my job in 1990 and we did the salary survey thing, then we did the trademarks thing, and life went on. Essentially, I drifted for 7 years doing 100 small things. Teaching, training, market research, anything that came my way in order to survive. In 93, my partner and I went separate ways. He kept the trademarks company because that was his idea. I kept the salary survey, InfoEdge, this is my idea. We divided the assets and the employees and we tried to make a go of things. But essentially drifted and did small stuff for 7 years. Okay? And I wasn't really interested in becoming a big company. I was just happy doing my own thing. And of course I had married a classmate. Yeah? And she was working in Nestle. Yeah? So we were living off her salary, so that helped. So those of us who are in first year, you've got some time. So figure it out, yeah? What's it's a batch size of how much? 420? Huh? 396. How many girls? 25%, okay, that's higher than in my time. We had 25 on 175. I think Arvind and possibly all the engineers would know this number by heart. No, but seriously, I think, there's a myth about entrepreneurs, that entrepreneurs are risk takers. I completely disagree. Good entrepreneurs are extremely risk averse. I am really risk averse. I'm actually a darpoke. Right? A sensible entrepreneur, just like any other sensible person, will always take the lowest risk path to his goal. Right? It's just that it has different goals. And that different goal is usually reached through a higher risk path than perhaps the goal of an IMA graduate who wants a corporate career. So risk profiles of the two paths are different, but an entrepreneur is risk averse. So it's a good idea to be a little fearful, because if you're a little fearful, you will mitigate risk. Okay, so one thing I've always believed is that the difference between a successful entrepreneur and a not so successful one is about how they manage downturns. Right? When the market is booming, economy is booming, money is coming, funding is no problem, everything looks good, but you're not really being tested. I think from August 1 last year, we've seen the markets change, and they changed further for the worse in the first half of January this year. At least some companies which are well known and have raised a lot of money at very high valuations may be under stress in the coming months. And that's when the entrepreneurs will be tested. So how you manage risk is actually more important than how you function in a boom. We have always benefited from meltdown. So in the year 2000, we got lucky. We raised money, our first venture capital investment, Series A. We raised money 15 days before the meltdown. Okay? And the market corrected. And because we had bootstrapped the company for 10 years, we really knew the value of money. We simply took the money and put it in fixed deposit in the bank. And we tore up the business plan we had submitted to get the money. Okay? The truth is, when you're doing a startup early stage, most spreadsheets you do are fiction. Their slides are fancy. They are stuff you do to show a deficit which justifies that size of funding. Yeah? And we put it in fixed deposit. And for 6 months, people were in denial, saying this is not a meltdown, this is a temporary correction, it will come back. And our investors also said, what's wrong with you? We've not given you money to put in fixed deposit. You cannot live on other income. You've got to deploy the money and use it productively. And we kept saying, guys, you don't know. We'll never get this money again. Just keep it safely and spend it judiciously and be frugal. And that's what we did. And that money was the only money the company raised till the IPO. It was $1.7 million at a 44 rupees exchange rate, not today's exchange rate. And we used only $1.2 million. The rest remained in the bank. So it's really important. So the lesson is successful entrepreneurs and successful companies are capital efficient. Google only raised $25 million in its life till the IPO. And company after company that is successful globally is usually capital efficient or is more capital efficient than its peers. And therefore, it is important that you understand the value of money, are personally frugal, spend every rupee sensibly, because you don't know when markets will turn, and you won't have money. It is also a myth that you need venture capital to succeed as an entrepreneur. Far too many successful companies have been built without venture capital. To disprove that claim, Infosys did not have venture capital. HCL did not have venture capital. Reliance did not have venture capital. So yes, if you get venture capital and you need it, it's great. But this whole thing of, I'll quit my job if I get venture capital and start a company, you're not an entrepreneur. There was no venture capital in 1990 in India, but companies were being built. And if you don't have venture capital, actually you might build a better company. So the next point I'd like to make is that the customer's money is always better than the investor's money. The reason is that if you are getting the customer's money and you're getting it repeatedly, and you're getting it at a price where you're making a positive margin, it means you probably have a viable business. And if you have a viable business, the investor's money will come. So if you're getting customers' money, investors' money will follow. But if you get the investor's money, it is not necessarily true that you get the customer's money, or you get it at a price where you will make a profit, or you build a viable business. See, markets, free markets, competitive markets, they discipline you. Customer has choice. If you're not good enough, he'll drop you. So you better be good enough. Right? If you continuously get investors' money, you don't need to have a viable business so long as the investors' money is coming. And therefore, because that is the discretion of one or two people in the investment firm. It is not a competitive market where thousands of customers are deciding, and therefore you don't get disciplined. Okay? And therefore, I'm a great believer in bootstrapping. Because bootstrapping teaches you the value of money. Bootstrapping ensures that your product is working really hard for the customer, because you want the customer's money to survive. So we bootstrapped Naukri for 3 years, not as a strategy, because we didn't have money and there was no venture capital. Right? If I had a choice, I would have taken it. Who doesn't want money? But those 3 years that we bootstrapped Naukri, we learned how to break even. And the thing about breaking even is that, look, you don't know where your revenues will come, right? You can only control your costs. So if you're frugal and you keep your costs low, right, chances are that revenue will come at over cost. The other point I want to make is that I have met very few entrepreneurs who succeeded without a struggle, a financial struggle. And be prepared that if you are going to be an entrepreneur, be prepared to make personal sacrifices. So in the first 10 years of being an entrepreneur, I didn't take a salary from the company for maybe 6 years. So 1990 to 93, while we were starting up, 97 to 2000, while we were bootstrapping Naukri, and all the money from the other businesses were going there. Yeah. And 95, my wife quit her job, and so there was no second salary. Yeah. So I took up a second job at a newspaper as a journalist. I used to go there in the afternoons, and that salary check would keep the house running. So I was working 16 days, 7 days a week, right, in order to do 2 jobs. I was also teaching at various management schools just to earn some money. So, you know, if you dream of work-life balance, don't do a startup. Because a startup is 24/7, you have to obsess with it. The reason why most successful startups are not started by 50-year-olds is because they're extremely demanding. Therefore, the biggest and best companies in the world, which were startups once, when they were founded, the founders are usually in their 20s or early 30s. Because you've got to give it everything. Yeah. So entrepreneurship is not glamorous. Looks glamorous in hindsight when other people write about it. But the truth is, you know, there will be times when it's the 26th of the month, 27th of the month, and you won't know how to pay the employee salaries. Yeah. So that happened many times, but thankfully something would happen and we never defaulted or anything. But you know, you go through those periods. So the key lesson there is, again, keep your expenses low. Okay. So the truth is that you know, when we were growing up, my father was in the government, doctor, mom was a homemaker. We grew up in government colonies. Our generation was not brought up to be entrepreneurs. Okay. So we were brought up to study hard because our parents told us that's the only salvation. There is nothing to inherit. Right? Just study hard, get into a good college, you know, clear the entrance exam, very important. Yeah? Whether it's the IIT entrance or it's the CAT or IAS or medical or whatever, clear that entrance exam. Yeah? So India, we have this great, you know, we have this country of entrance exams, and if you are among the fortunate few to clear the right one, hopefully you'll be okay in life. Right? So we were brought up for that. But some of us chose to become entrepreneurs simply because that's what we wanted to do. So, you know, from the time I was 12 or 13, I had thought maybe, you know, so when I was 10, I wanted to be Rajesh Khanna because, you know, 1973, Rajesh Khanna had a lot of hit films and, you know, okay. Then when I was 11, I wanted to be Sunil Gavaskar because, you know, there was the India-West Indian series, you know, and it was the first or second series in India that was telecast live on Doordarshan. And I, you know, saw Gavaskar and he you know, he could bat. Okay. And when I was 12, you know, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. Now, so people, you know, who all daydream here? Who all daydream? Come on. Thank you. So I used to daydream a lot. I still do. Right? I think daydreams are good. They keep you going. So it was one of my daydreams. Right? But the ambition would go away, then it'll come back again. But by the time I finished school, I was reasonably clear that I wanted to be an entrepreneur sometime. Yeah. So I went to college, and post-college I joined advertising for 3 years. And I was happy, but I still wanted to be an entrepreneur. I came to IMA, and there was a bunch of us who keep talking about entrepreneurship, 5, 6 of us. Most were interested in corporate jobs. And I joined a company called HMM, which is now called GlaxoSmithKline. In the middle, it was called SmithKline Beecham. And I was in marketing, and I was handling the brand Horlicks. And this is 1989, and pre-liberalization. Okay. So Indian multinationals, I mean multinationals in India, the older ones, which were there for 100 years before that, were extremely hierarchical, extremely bureaucratic, absolutely no empowerment down the line. So Horlicks was 88% of the company's turnover and 104% of the company's profit. The other brands were, we'll call it in investment mode. They were Boost, Brylcreem, Eno, Marmite, they were all big. So what it meant was that if you wanted to do anything on Horlicks, you needed the CMD's approval. I was absolutely the bottom. So HMM ran by committee. On the first of the month, there'll be the manufacturing committee meeting. On the second of the month, there'll be a purchase committee meeting. On the third of the month, there'll be a sales committee meeting. On the fourth of the month, there will be a marketing committee meeting. On the fifth of the month, there'll be a finance committee. On the sixth of the month, there'll be a management committee meeting. Now, only top managers attended these meetings. So I never entered one, right? But all decisions were taken in these meetings. So a few months before I joined, somebody smart guy came out with a bright idea. So Horlicks was a glass bottle with a blue label with a red border, right, up and down. And somebody said, in India, gold, sone ki कीमत hai, gold is valued. So if you put a thin gold line between the red border and the blue body of the label, it will create a value perception. Brand ki image badegi and sales badenge. And then somebody said, but this is too big a risk. And let's do a test market. Now, 26% of Horlicks sales are from Tamil Nadu, single largest state for Horlicks. So we'll do it in Tamil Nadu, but we won't risk the biggest city, which is Madras, then Madras, now Chennai. We'll do it in a second level city. Let's do it in Madurai. So these new labels were introduced in Madurai, and fine. People forgot about it, went to sleep. Meanwhile, I joined the company. I did use of this test market. So about 6 months after I joined this company, a marketing committee meeting is happening, or a management committee meeting is happening, or something, and my boss's boss, the head of the marketing manager, runs out of this meeting in a flap. Says, "What happened?" The chocolate Horlicks launch in 15 days. There is no way I'm going to Madurai tonight. He said, "No, you're going to Madurai tonight." So I booked a ticket to Madras. I caught the overnight bus to Madurai. Who's from Chennai? Over here? Yeah, it's a bad idea, right? To catch an overnight to Madurai from Chennai. Okay, and there's no question of bus in those days, right? So anyway, I reached Madurai all covered in dust. I changed my clothes at the back of the bus, hiding behind the seat. Okay, and I didn't shave, I didn't bathe. I got off, and there was this distributor salesman awaiting me. Now, in 1989, November, in Madurai, if I tried to speak Hindi, I probably got murdered. Yeah. They didn't know English. So, I was walking with that distributor salesman, and I was holding out this, see old label, see new label, what do you think? Any feedback? And this guy would translate, right? And then, so the shopkeepers were rolling on the floor laughing. He said, "You came from Delhi to ask us a stupid question? Right? Go back and reduce the price." And I'm thinking to myself that, I went to IMA for this. Right? So after about 20 such conversations, maybe 1.5 hours, okay, I told the distributor salesman, "Boss, I'm done. Take me to the temple." So went to the temple, Meenakshi temple, Madurai, very famous. Did the parikrama, tried the prasad, took prasad home for my mother. She was very happy. I caught the overnight train back to Chennai, caught the next morning flight to Delhi, and I came back and I wrote a report saying, "Test market widely successful, kindly extend label nationally." I told you the story because, this experience drove home the futility of my existence. And I came to the conclusion, I do not want a career as an employee manager in a large multinational because I can see my future. If I work well for 5 years, I can be on that desk for 10 years. Maybe I'll be in that cabin. 15 years, maybe I'll be in that cabin, the head of marketing. And I figured that it's a rat race I don't want to be part of. So I wanted a different life. So I didn't really care about salary so much. I just wanted a different life. And that's why I became an entrepreneur. So I did not see any great opportunity. I did not have any big ideas. I just didn't want this life. Yeah, I'll stop here. I'm happy to address any questions. Are we doing okay for time? Yeah. The biggest challenge, okay, so biggest challenge, we had no money, right? We had no money. Because we had no money, infrastructure was poor. So by now we were operating out of one floor of my father's house. We started life in a servant quarter above the house, above the garage. And So there was no air conditioning. There was no power backup. UPS had 15 minutes of power backup. There was no lease line or anything. We had a 3,300 kbps modem dial-up. Got a stable connection was 2 a.m. So to update the site, I had to do it myself at 2 a.m. Essentially lack of capital. Yeah. So so I'll tell you. Within 2-3 years of becoming an entrepreneur, my friends changed. I wouldn't hang out with those guys anymore. Because I couldn't do the things they did. I couldn't go on the holidays they went for. I couldn't pick up my share of the bill when they went to a 5-star hotel. So you ended up, not hanging out with them. Actually, no, I was happy. See, I was really afraid for the first 2 years. It took me 6 months to muster up the courage to quit my job because I was so attached to a salary check. And I was, my dad is a government officer. There is nobody in business in the family. And I was really scared. And for 2 years after quitting my job, I was still scared. Right? But in those 2 years, it takes 2 years for a man to get used to living on his wife's salary. And then you can be reasonably happy. Yeah.
On to your right, to your extreme right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sir, so I'm a PGP2 student. I just had a basic question as what's your take on the entire institutionalization of this, let's start a startup. So there is a lot of buzz around creating an entire platform, like a stepwise procedure as to how do we initiate this, launch a startup. So going back in your time, how do you, would you prefer having gone through such a procedure, or what do you think is a better way to do it?
A procedure is a complicated word. You are just getting 10 guys to talk about their experiences. That's it. Right. And that's fine. Listening to stories always helps.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
To your left, extreme left.
Yeah.
Sir, you spoke about, you just briefly mentioned some of the sacrifices you had to make. What were probably the toughest sacrifices you had to make in your personal life, maybe in your family?
So, there are some sacrifices you make which you don't feel the pain necessarily instantly. But long term they could have an impact. Right? For example, the choice of where we lived. Right? We simply could not afford to live in a better part of town. Right? Which meant that we couldn't send the kids to the kind of schools that my wife possibly wanted to. Right? But that's a choice we made. As it happens, the kids did really well, they turned out really well, because actually they went to very good schools. Those new wave schools are not necessarily the best schools in my view. Yeah. So I went to a school where there were some rich kids, but there were mostly middle class kids and some poor kids. So it was a reasonably diverse and cosmopolitan experience. Right? And we grew up with the right values. And we sent our kids to similar schools. Although right now there might be some certain other schools that are respected more, I still think these are very good schools.
Hello, sir. I'm a PGP1 student.
Very good.
My first contact with...
Can you stand up?
Over here, to your right, I guess. My first contact... I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My first contact with your brand was way back through the wildly successful TV ad. So in that context, can you tell us a little more about the marketing campaign that Naukri.com followed, and what would be your advice to designing marketing strategies for emerging startups?
Okay. So the first comment I'd like to make on this is that I worked in advertising, I worked in consumer marketing, so I'm speaking with some experience. Brands are not built by advertising. Brands are built by customer experience. Advertising is an accelerator. It will make a good product succeed faster. It will make a bad product fail faster. Okay. It is advertising agencies that perpetuate the myth that brands are built by advertising, because that gets people to spend more money with ad agencies and they make more money. Yeah. Yes, yes. So if the product is good, it'll make it succeed faster. If the product is bad, it'll make it fail faster. And therefore, for the first 5 or 6 years of Naukri, we did not advertise. We just kept focusing on product and customer experience. And the product was not just the software features, it was the fact that we had the most jobs. And we went after the most jobs because we had the customer insight that jobs are a high interest category of information. Our competitors, so we priced a job listing at 350 rupees. Really cheap because we wanted to get all the job listings. Our competitors priced at 3,500. We had 10 times their jobs, we got 10 times their traffic. But they had 4 times our money. And we still beat them. That's the power of a customer insight. And they advertise a lot. Their launch ad campaign was twice annual turnover. They launched with ads in the India-Pakistan cricket series in Sharjah.
So, where do brands make us students come and help their ideas? One thing they often share is that I'm an introvert. And I will mention that you are a great introvert.
Today. Not then.
So do you think being an introvert is not really, entrepreneurship is not for an introvert?
Not true, not true. I was very shy, I was an introvert, I was really afraid of speaking in public. So essentially, necessity is the mother of invention. And so a friend of mine was running this MBA coaching thing called IMS classes out of Bombay, right? It was a correspondence course. It was the market leader at that time. Now, of course, others have overtaken it, right? And they wanted to run a contact program in Delhi. So group discussion and interview training. And I was kind of, at a loose end, because the salary survey thing was very seasonal, because placement season is once a year. And they contacted me and said, will you coordinate the Delhi program for us? And we'll pay you X amount of money, which was a princely sum then, but is a tiny sum now. So my job was essentially to find a venue. Lady Urban College read us classes. And I had to get IIM grads in the evenings to conduct GD and interview training and pay them by the hour a reasonable sum of money, which would be a useful addition to the income, plus, they were having fun. And it is very important to have IIM grads there because, I think IIM grads are teaching you how to clear the IIM GD interview, right? And I did that, right? And because, now I was forced to do it because I really needed the money. Okay? And that's when I learned how to speak to people. So I must have taught for, I don't know, maybe 10,000 students that year. Just conducting GD and interview training workshops. And the next year, what happened was that I went to a former colleague of mine at GlaxoSmithKline who was taking a course at IMT Ghaziabad on consumer behavior. And I said, listen, I'd like to be visiting faculty too. And how do you get this? He says, oh, my former prof is now director of IMT. So I just went to him I want to quit my job and do a PhD in marketing in the US, so I want some teaching experience. It'll help me in my future job, future career. So I said, yeah, tell me the course that was taught worst last year by visiting faculty. So he said, marketing and service industries. Now, IMT Ghaziabad in 1991 was possibly the only business school in India teaching marketing and service industry as a separate course. Right? So I said, I will teach marketing and service industries. I have worked in advertising and service industry. I will teach it. So he said, come. So we went to IMT Ghaziabad. The director was a professor called Sharath Kumar, IIM Calcutta, right? Ex-IIM Calcutta. So he said, were you taught by Mote? Now, Professor Mote had taught us 2 classes because he had retired. But I had taught 2 classes. I said, yes, I was taught by, hired. So now the term was starting in 3 months, and so I didn't know where to get the material from. There was no material in the market. So my brother is a prof at UCLA. So I said, listen, I've got to teach this course. So he bought reading material and case studies from Harvard and shipped them to me because Harvard had a course on marketing service industries. Right? Then I discovered a book which had many of those cases. So I told the IMT library, buy 30 or 40 of these books. The library, and we would teach from that book. And I worked really hard to learn how to teach. Yeah, so that's how I learned to speak in public. And I tell you something about teaching. I tell you something teaching management schools. I really did not study management at Ahmedabad. But when I taught it, I had to do the cases, yeah, because you're up. If you're one among 70 and you haven't really done the case, you can kind of, side of it, and hopefully Professor Jain will, So I was sitting in the first row, and typically you'd not cold call the first row. First row sitting ducks, right? And so you go second row, third row, and I would be able to get by, right? But if you're teaching, right, you're up against 50, 70 minds. And you have a question. So you better know it. So I really did my cases. So I used a lot of IMA material. I introduced WAC in IMT. I did MM1, MM2. I did marketing service industries. I did a bunch of courses, all using case method. So I introduced a case method into IMT. Yeah, I mean, you see, we have to pay by end of the month. There were still 5 days, and something or the other would happen. We got lucky. Bhagwan bharose hum chal rahe the, ho gaya. No. So it's like this, yeah. We didn't have a lot of high quality talent then. We made do with who we got, and so they weren't highly paid. And we would somehow, some checks would come. So we would basically send them a direct mail, and everyday checks would come in the mail of courier, and somehow we'd get by. So up tak, we have not defaulted on salary even once.
So here, on your right. Yeah. So in the internet economy, we have generally seen the first two people generally to enter. It's a winner takes all kind of thing that generally happens in the internet economy. How much of your success will you attribute to timing, entering this sector very early? And do you think it's possible for late entrants to really succeed?
So I think first mover is important, but only if you make good use of it. Okay? I think wherever we've been late in the market, we have struggled. In matrimony, we were late with Jeevan Sat, we are struggling. In 99 acres, we launched, and within 6 months there were 18 competitors. We did not have much of an advantage. So first move is important, but you got to have the customer insights to figure out how do you make good use of first mover. Very often people go in late, but with a disruptive model. LinkedIn is an example. And they've disrupted Monster in the US. So it's possible, but you've got to be disruptive. Now, how much time do we have left? I mean, when do we? Okay.
Sorry, the way you a lot of your learning has come from real life. I just want to ask you, do you think our education system is geared up to help us understand or unearth these consumer insights?
So if you are asking me, do I believe I benefited from my education? Answer is yes. Would I do it again? Answer is yes. Right? You know, the thing about what we learn, whether in college or at this institute, is that you are taught 10,000 things. Right? You don't know of these 10,000 which 100 you will use, actually, because you don't know what life has in store for you. You don't know what job you'll do, you don't know what the circumstances will be. But more importantly, you are taught to critically analyze, right, and understand why what is happening is happening. So the problem-solving approach, I think, is really important. Yes, the brand also helps. I mean, you know, when I was going pitching for money, the fact that I was from IMA, it opened doors. But the point is, doors will open once. After, it's up to you to deliver. Yeah. And even if you are not from a good business school, maybe you have to deliver something first and then the door will open. But for good people, the door will always open. But yes, education did help me.
Sir, so I have a question on if we start a business nowadays. Let's say InfoEdge had a big advantage in a couple of things. One, the business model was such that customers were giving money first. So you had a float.
That was not an accident.
Yeah, that was not an accident.
We made it that way.
You made it that way, absolutely. And second was the networking effect which you created, which once the customer base or the people were there on your site or on your company, there were a lot of customers coming on for Naukri.com. So if today we make a business wherein we have a float or a customer advance and a networking effect, a lot of competitors
so customers will not give you an advance unless your product is really worth it.
Yeah.
Okay?
But
These are not accidents. Right? You build a product that the customer really wants, you're the best in class, you hit a hot button, you get your terms of trade.
So if do you think today the competitors will come in really fast to snatch that lucrative business wherein you're getting an advance and it's tough to retain that advantage for a long time?
So funding is a lot less freely available as compared to a year and a half ago. So in all likelihood, competition will move slower than a year and a half ago. But it will still move, right? But when I say solve an unsolved problem, what does it mean? It means you're an innovative first mover, right? Hopefully you're building some IP. Hopefully what you're doing is not copyable so easily, right? And that's what you got to look for. We always seek to build some IP which builds moats around our business. Now the IP could be brand, could be content, could be algorithm, could be something unique that differentiates you on a reasonably sustainable basis.
So based on the more obvious ways one tends to look at a company, such as revenue and profit parameters. So in the case of online markets such as Flipkart, Ola, and even in your case, InfoEdge, how does it so happen that the market cap tends to skyrocket even though the revenue and profit are kind of unable to justify it? And we don't see that even in the case of high asset companies like, well, it is still justified, such as in Tata Steel, Jindal. I mean, they are able to justify it, but not here.
So,
thank you.
So in general, dot-coms get a higher valuation because they have operating leverage. So typically, internet business will have next to no variable cost, right? So in Naukri, the variable cost is 7%. It's sales commission. It costs us no extra money to put up one extra job, right? So there's a cost creep of overheads, which is say 12-13% every year. Any growth we get above that goes 93% to the bottom line, right? And it's because of this operating leverage that dot-coms get the multiples that they do, okay? Because there's a lot of headroom for growth, people believe, and when that growth happens, there'll be fabulous profits. It doesn't always work that way, because things don't work out necessarily. Private markets are a lot more discretionary, where just 2-3 people are deciding what's the fair value. But public markets, sure, they could be frothy for a while, but because they are public markets with many shareholders and many investors, you eventually get to a fair price. Now, if you look at Naukri market cap or you look at Info Edge market cap, you've got to look at the sum of parts story. So let's say market cap is X. How much would you attribute to 99 acres? Okay? Remove that. We've got 1,200 crores of cash. Remove that from the market cap. So the market cap right now is about 10,000 something crores. Remove 1,200 crores, down 9,000 something crores. Remove 99 acres, 150 million, I don't know. Okay, that's about, whatever it is, another 1,000 crores. Remove Jeevansathi. Remove Zomato, where we own 48%. Remove Policybazaar, where we own 10%. Remove all of that. You're down to a multiple in the early 30s for Naukri. Naukri is a 74% traffic share business, headed north, growing at 18-20% a year. EBITDA margin, high 50% range. Negative working capital, 220 crore client advances. You get the valuation.
We have one last question. Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello. Yes, sir. My question is that in entrepreneurship, you work with a lot of people. So how do you make sure that the visions are aligned for each of the members? Because only then you are able to move forward. Thank you.
Vision is a very big word. When we launched Naukri, we had no vision. We simply said that if we can get 1,000 companies a month to pay 500 rupees to list one job every month, that's 5 lakhs a month, that's 60 lakhs a year, that's 5x of the company's turnover the previous year. It looked like a nifty idea, right? And vision evolved along the way. So vision very often is what others attribute to successful people in hindsight, right? Having said that, if you'd asked me 3 years after launching Naukri, do you have vision? I would have said yes. So the issue is, how do you sell people your idea and say, this is a good thing to do, good things happen, follow me, come along. And that is your personal attribute. So I believe an entrepreneur has to be a personal magnet for talent. Because when you have no money, people essentially want to work with you. That's why they're there. So you have to be the kind of person whom people want to work with. And yes, you have to sell them your idea. And yes, after a few years, maybe you'll follow the vision. But in the beginning, most ideas are small. So I say this to a lot of people, and it's not my original thing. I think I've seen it on a Stanley also, which is dream big but start small. Because if you start small, you will make the cost of failure will be low, and there will be failures along the way. So a small failure is not really a failure because you can still survive, and if you survive, you're not failed yet. Yeah. Sorry, one last question. You have.
I just wanted to ask what prompted you to get into Jeevansathi.com. They were already matrimony.com and Shaadi.com.
So not
what
true.
gap you saw?
No, not true. We were one of the first. So I'll tell you. So I'm not a techie, right? So I had. Yeah.
So we have the Naukri.com, right? The Jeevansathi is the chokri.
And the 99 acres is the makan, you know.
We'll end there. Yeah, that's the right answer. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for such an inspiring session. Now I'd like to invite Professor Amit Khanna to deliver the vote of thanks.
Dream big, but start small. I think there cannot be a better end to the inaugural session of the HTSAS, as they call it. And we are so glad that the team, you know, when they came to me and we started discussing on who should be the speaker, we have actually changed the dates just to make sure that Sanjeev inaugurates this series because he was not able to make it last week. And I think we are absolutely true that there couldn't have been a better start to this wonderful series that we are looking forward to. Thank you, Sanjeev, for being here. And
yeah.
And also, as in, he was not just here for this talk. So he has been here since I think 9:30 in the morning.
That's because the Ahmedabad airport is shut between 9:30.
Yes, but he's although he had a room in IMDC, he has not got a single minute to go there because he has been talking to Maverick interns, all the budding and the entrepreneurs who would like to take the plunge. And I'm sure this session is going to go a long way in trying to get to see how a life of an entrepreneur from inside is. And we had, of course, the benefit of having Arvind and Professor Jain here to tell us as to how he was even before he became an entrepreneur. So thank you very much, Sanjeev, for spending time here. And thank you all for being here in large numbers. We are actually streaming this whole thing in CR1 in Old Campus. So probably next time we need an RJM for this whole thing. So keep coming to the next 9 sessions, and we are really looking forward to your support on making this a huge success. Thanks all the colleagues, faculty colleagues for being here and extending all the support for this program to kick off. And last but not the least, a great thanks for organizing this team, HTSS team, a part of the Entre Cell, which is Ujjwal, Srijan, Samyak, Harpreet, and I think Anirudh has also pitched in now. So a big round of applause for this team so that this is the first of its kind, and I'm sure this is going to be the best of its kind because we are the first mover and we are also going to be the best in the country. And thanks to all the colleagues at CI for getting everything together and organizing it. Do read your cases for tomorrow. The first bench is also going to be cold call. Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you.
I would just like to invite Professor Nanda to hand out a small memento.